Hello everyone, welcome back to Oliveboard Regulatory Bodies. We all know that SEBI Grade A 2024 Phase 2 exam results are out and the interview process for SEBI will start. Similarly, RBI Grade B Phase 2 exam is over, NABARD Grade A Phase 2 exam is also over, and the only stages which are left for all of these regulatory bodies is Phase 3, which is the interview process. So let us understand how the interviews are held. What are the important aspects to understand before preparing for interview? Let us look at a purview that what does regulatory bodies interviews are all about, how are they different from other competitive exams, and most important of all, what are their different sections and subsections, and what could be a decent strategy for preparation. This session is all about personalized interview guidance and what is most importantly the interview program all about. Overall, what is the regulatory body? In regulatory bodies, it may be SEBI Grade A exam, RBI Grade B or NABARD Grade A. What is about interview? So let's first discuss through understanding what does interview mean for competitive exams especially. So when I talk about competitive exams, the interview stage holds a very significant and important importance, as well as is a very important stage in competitive exam. Try to understand, earlier interviews in competitive exam were knowledge based, but today they are personality based. Okay, so these are personality based. So the interview panel or the experts who are sitting in the interview panel, they are more there on that panel to understand your values, the qualities which you hold, the attitude, as well as your mindset and your vision, rather than just knowing that do you know this knowledge or not, do you know this answer or not. They are more interested to understand the mindset, attitude, values and qualities which ideally a RBI Grade B or NABARD Grade A or SEBI Grade A officer should have. So for competitive exams, as I told you, it's a very important step. It's a final step after which you get the list of the officers who are going to be either assistant managers or managers. Now everybody thinks that interview is an selection process, or it is where you have to go and then from 3 or 4 candidates, one candidate is selected. But interview is not an exam. If anybody sees interview as an exam, then definitely I would stop you there. Don't look at interview as an exam. Why? It is an opportunity for the candidates to demonstrate their suitability for the position. All rest of the stages, take example of prelims, mains and then your interview in your civil services exam. Similarly, regulatory bodies exam, phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 interview, where first 2 stages which we are talking about, objective assessment, subjective assessment, where your phase 1 is there which has objective questions, phase 2 is there objective questions and subjective questions. These all are selection or maybe elimination stages, selection stages, but interview is not such stage. This is not a race which you are running against your competitors or your competition, but rather interview rather than an exam, it's an opportunity. आपको कोई opportunity नहीं देता है. अगर आपको कुछ भी चीज चाहिए हो, you have to fight against it, but nobody will give you an opportunity to prove yourself, right? For example, just take an example of 100-meter race. In that 100-meter race, if you want to win 100-meter race, you have to run in that race. Here you see that every stage in such competitive exams, it's similar to 100 meters. Either you are selected or either you are eliminated. But in interview, you get a special opportunity. This is an opportunity for a candidate that he can showcase his suitability to that particular position or to that role. So interview is not an exam, it's an opportunity. Remember this and feed it in your brain. Second, a strong performance in interview can greatly enhance your chances of securing the job as well as getting that particular role or clearing that exam. Okay. Other thing, when we are trying to look into interview, it is a brief short time with 2 or 3 interview panel members where there is exchange of information, exchange of your vision, exchange of even which has the answers which are subjective as well as objective in nature, and then the interview panel makes a judgment that is this candidate having enough qualities, enough mindset and attitude which should be ideally in a assistant manager or a manager or not. Correct? So in this way, your interview selection process is there. Interview is never about impressing the interview panel or the experts who are sitting in that, but it is making sure that you are well prepared, and you are prepared as such that you are that candidate who distincts different or who is distinctively different from rest of the competition, and more importantly, you are prepared, trained enough that you are the most suitable student or candidate to become that assistant manager or manager. Interview is all about the experience to let know the room full of experts or interview panels that you are the perfect candidate for a particular role or selection. Now, I think you understood what the overall introduction of interview is all about. Now, competitive exams are when the interview is concerned, many of the people don't know what is the basics of this interview. So let us try to understand what type of interview does competitive exams are. So there are various types of interviews. Competitive exams interviews are generally job type interviews. Job type in the sense simple. It is a competitive exam, but at the end you are trying to seek an employment to become an assistant manager or manager, right? In any regulatory body, SEBI, RBI, NABARD. So therefore, first is this interview for competitive exams like regulatory bodies are job interviews. In job interviews, these are structured interviews. Structured interviews in the sense you all would be knowing that everybody before going to interview, if you have cleared phase 2 exam, you have to fill a biodata. It is sometimes also called as DAF or detailed application form. So therefore, this is structured. This DAF or biodata gives some predetermined questions or information or some list of information or points about the candidate to the interview panel before even the candidate comes into the interview hall. And that's how your interviews becomes structured in nature. Second, the interviews are also sometimes some micro portions of interviews are unstructured too. For example, interview panel may ask a question associated to technical knowledge like finance, or they may ask a question associated with hobby. But what those questions are going to be there? Are they going to ask a question associated with my hobby, or a general knowledge question associated with my hobby? Are they going to ask a question which is going to be associated with my experience? And in experience, are they going to ask me technical knowledge, or are they going to ask me soft skills? In this way, certain micro portions in your interview which are very eye-catchy could be in unstructured nature. That means even you can never, so for phase 1 examination, you can prepare. For phase 2 examination, you can prepare. There is a proper syllabus, there is a proper structure, there is a proper strategy to prepare. But for interviews, there is neither a syllabus, there is neither a strategy, and that's why the term self-introspection is very important. You never know in interviews what you are hit with. You never know. They may ask you, I have seen various interviews where interview panel first start with a question that what is the meaning of your name? Okay, and why do you like to pursue your hobby, or why are you interested in RBI as organization? So these questions are very subjective in nature, correct? So in this way, tell us 3 weaknesses which you are having, or give us 3 reasons why we should not select you. These are some of the very interesting questions, and you never know which questions are asked to us. You cannot predict this, and that's why the preparation becomes tough in interviews. That is why I told these are structured as well as unstructured. Now these are behavioral interviews also. That means these interviews are not about concrete knowledge. These interviews are not boring related to only a specific technical subject. They are more of understanding your personality, and that is why this interview itself is called as personality based interview, PI. Understood? So they will try to understand the behavior, your experience, and even they will try to judge your performance based on that. These are panel based interviews. For example, regulatory bodies, you will definitely see that there are 3 panel members. So in total, these competitive exams interviews are job type, informational type, case type, and personality based. RBI Grade B interview when we are talking about, or you can also consider SEBI Grade A interview when we are talking about, or you can also consider NABARD Grade A interview when we are talking about. These interviews are designed such that these are structured interview. These are standardized and consistent. You will not see that there are some random questions which are asked, so that every candidate has a level playing field in terms of competitiveness. Other than that, there is a proper assessment criteria for these interviews. The job selection process ensures that there is a proper fairness, objectivity and transparency also during the selection of the candidates. Also, in government job interviews, you will see that questions are often formulated in such a way that those are associated with qualification, skills, competencies and suitability for those particular specific position. Okay. Now, some of the questions which are asked in these interviews are associated with candidates' education, work experience, and these personal questions are 100% asked from the biodata which answers you are filling. So it gives structure as well as it gives an substantial information to the interview panel also, so that the questions are not arrow in a dark or maybe are not random in nature. Other than that, technical knowledge, problem solving abilities, soft skills, attitude, mindset as well as behavioral traits relevant questions are also definitely asked. Now, after understanding in depth what are the types of the interviews, how the RBI, NABARD and SEBI interviews are, let us first try to understand the basic thing which is required for interview, a proper dress code. Men are having proper dress code as well as female are having proper dress code. You will see that from clothes, hairstyle, then which type of dress you are wearing, which color you are wearing, everything matters here. Okay. Understand that whenever you wear a cloth or however you are trying to dress up yourself, it is the first way or first impression visually a person can make your judgment on. So the judgment of a person can be based on how you look, how you wear the clothes, which clothes you wear, what color you wear, etc. So that is why your dress code becomes very, very important. Remember, this is the first visual impression for interview panel. Next, what are the documents you should be taking to your interview? So the first thing is clipped folder is recommended, in which you can have all your mark sheets, ID cards, 2 photocopies of documents, 10th, 12th and graduation documents, PG, work experience, photographs which are recent ones, biodata, whatever you have filled, a photocopy of that, and lastly all the documents which you have to prove and whatever you have written in your biodata. Okay. So suppose you have written that you were national basketball player in your biodata, then you should have that national participation or winner certificate with you. Next, now we come to the main core part of your interview, on which almost 40 to 50% of your interview is dependent on. Remember, before getting into the interview hall or before sitting in front of expert interview panel is already having information about you. Now you will ask, how sir? So before going to interview, you have to fill a biodata form, which is also called as detailed application form. The biodata form is very, very important. Why it is important? It has various segments or parts and you have to compulsorily give answers to most of the questions. Biodata, when we are talking about, it is the first impression, portrait or mirror of the candidate. Here, the interview panel is able to understand you before even looking at you. Just by reading this paper, whatever answers you have given, the interview panel may try to draw out the picture of the candidate, how this candidate is going to be. That is how the interview panel looks into your personality. Even they have not seen you, then also they are able to draw your personality. Scoring is based on certain parameters and biodata makes it very clear and immediate without any assumptions that what are the answers for the basic questions associated to various sections in your biodata. And second thing, biodata is your first draft of personality. Here, interview panel will not be making any judgments which are based on how you look or how you are carrying yourself, but rather just your questions. So this is one of the honest quality assessment and this is first draft of your personality. This is what biodata is. Now, biodata has various sections and you have to fill them all. Let us go through one by one. The first section in biodata is your overall educational and professional qualification. In this, you can write that where you have been definitely, where do you did graduation, okay, secondary, higher secondary, etc. In this, Definitely, there are also certain small questions. For example, what is the employment of your father? Okay, which state do you belong to? These are very small questions, but these have huge ramifications. For example, you belong to the state of Rajasthan. You are already in NABARD interview. Then definitely they may ask you agricultural practices from Rajasthan. In this way, your interview in biodata, if you write A or if you write B, even one letter which you write in your biodata, that becomes very important. The prize, medal and scholarship becomes the second segment. What prize you have won and what are the recent prizes you have won, not something which you have won in 5th standard or 6th standard. The medal or scholarship also which you have won, definitely you can write it down. This section tells that how much caliber the student is having in curricular. Okay. Next is sports and extracurricular or curricular. This includes what sports did you play, okay? Then did you achieve anything in these sports or not? What extracurricular activities you have done, etc. Then comes one section which is hobbies. In this you can write hobbies. For writing hobbies, you have to first understand what is the difference between hobbies and what is the difference between your time pass. Hobbies and time pass difference you should definitely know. Work experience is also a major part. Work experience, when I'm talking about, it includes what your profession is, where you have worked, for how much years of work experience you are having. All these things are one of the next segments. And lastly, other areas of interest. The other areas of interest includes anything, if peculiarly, which is not written in any of these sections, but you are having an extra information about it, you can write in the other areas of interest. Now remember very carefully, biodata, whatever you write, even if you write one word, as I told you, even if you write your father's profession, he was working in cooperative bank, it becomes important from RBI point of view. They may ask you overall classification of cooperative banks. They may ask you who regulates cooperative banks, which cooperative bank your father works in. They may ask you what are the problems associated with cooperative banks. This is how your questions are asked, which are based on biodata. Majorly, biodata is nothing but simple. It is a mirror of yourself. Mirror, it is nothing but by reading at the biodata, I can understand everything about you. The biodata has been structured in this way. Understood? So if I have biodata in my hand, I will know what you are. And that's why self-introspection is very important. In biodata, be honest and rational. Always remember, if you lie, you will lose. If you lie, you have to keep on lying. Your overall responses in biodata should be balanced, should be honest and rational. Anything, one word also, if you are writing on biodata, you have to make sure that it has a proper reasoning and conceptual knowledge behind it. It has rationality behind it. If you write even a simple thing, you should have the reasons why you have written that. Other thing, before your interview, there is also one psychometric test, which is only to look at your personality traits and cognitive ability. This is along with your biodata. One more additional information about biodata. Remember, always write in the biodata only that things or that information which you expect and which you want the interview panel should ask to you. Do not write something which you are not habituated with, or maybe in interview hall you will have problems to answer the questions which are associated to that topic. If there is particular something, do not mention it into your biodata. For example, just for filling your prize, medal, scholarship or sports or hobbies, people generally lie in your hobby section. But there is also a thing which is called as hobby curse. What do you mean by hobby curse? Generally people lie in hobby, and when they lie in hobby, the experienced experts who are having 30-40 years of experience as IBPS panel members, they will catch through your eyes and your facial expressions only that you are lying in context of your hobbies. And that is why it is called as hobby curse. Remember, that is why honesty, rationality and balanced responses only can help you in your biodata. After biodata, now let us talk about just imagining that this is the interview hall and you are outside the interview hall. Let us talk about what are the basic etiquettes. So first thing is, what are formal and social etiquettes to maintain? It starts from how do you knock on the door, how do you enter in the interview hall, how do you sit, you don't shake your hands, you don't do extra hand movements, what are your facial expressions, you don't tremble your leg, your sitting posture is upright and straight. All these things are definitely formal and social etiquettes. It is also about how you talk, okay? You use English as a language, and if you are not comfortable that much in English and the vocabularies, you take a permission to talk in Hindi. These are all the social etiquettes and formal etiquettes. You give salutations rather than saying a, you say sir, madam. This is how you use the salutations. You give an eye contact to every panel member, not only single one. Whenever someone questions you, you give first primary contact to him and then secondary contact to the rest of the panel. These are your formal and social etiquettes. The entry, sitting and facial expressions. The entry is nothing but how do you enter, how do you sit straight, upright, how do you fold your hands straight, flat on your laps, okay? Do not have any hand gestures, how your facial expressions are there. Is there any tension on your face? Are you having a decent smile on your face, right? Not a wicked smile or not like you are laughing, but a decent facial smile. Then is listening quality, which comes in etiquettes. Some people have an habit that to give answer as soon as the question is asked. But before answering, always listen. Half of your interview becomes much more easier when you have attitude to listen more. Humble and learning attitude, it means that suppose even if you don't know a question, or maybe you are not that confident on your answer, but you are more than humble to accept your mistake. You don't know a question and you are humble enough. You are having learning attitude. This humble and learning attitude also helps various candidates to give answers which are more humble, and most importantly, which interview panel members definitely like. For example, if I am not able to give a question to a particular answer where there are multiple questions which were asked to me, and now this is the last question which I am unable to give. Maybe a grilling is going on in the interview. At that time, I can say that, sir, I apologize. Right now, I cannot recall, but I had definitely read about it. As soon as the interview is over, I promise you that I will get back to you and I will definitely go through the information which you asked. So this is how you can humbly and through a learning attitude reply. For example, suppose you did a mistake. I apologize, sir. I cannot recall that. Surely I will get back. Surely I will get back and look into that information. Suppose you are not sure about your answer, or maybe the interview panel asks you, are you sure about your answer? Are you 100% sure? Because I think it's wrong. At that time, you can say that I apologize, sir, but I had read about this. If you allow me, I can guess and I can try to give you an answer. So these are some of the humble ways to give the answer. But these are not about how to use English language. This is all about whether you are having humble or learning attitude or not. It's not about that someone to ask you or someone told you that do you think this is 100% correct, and you say that yes, I have read it. Are you asking me that it is right or wrong? It is 100% correct. This is not a way how we reply. Okay. So apologizing or maybe saying sorry when we are not able to give a rally or maybe answer to the rally of questions. At that time, definitely your humble and learning attitude only helps. Next, how to apologize and how to say no. In interview, there would be many a times that such questions will come in front of you where you have to say no. At that time, rather than saying, no, I don't know about it. Okay, sorry, I don't know about it. Rather than saying such informal language, and which is again not, it is very disrespectful also when you are talking with the such exemplar people who are in the interview panel. And that is why you have to think about it, that how you are going to respond. So in this way, I extremely apologize, sir, but I cannot recall it right now. I am really sorry, sir. I don't know the answer to this, but I assure you that I had gone through this article. In this way, these are some of the ways to respond. Here, more than vocabulary, as I told you, it's your humbleness and learning attitude. And lastly, salutations. Rather than taking someone's name or rather than calling someone without any salutation, or just giving salutations without any respect, that should not be followed. General salutations like sir, ma'am or madam, that should be definitely used. In context of communication, how you are communicating, that's how you are utilizing your eye contact. And eye contact means not every time looking at every panel member, but rather making a decent eye contact with the interview panel member, such that your presence, every interview panel member feels importance. No hand gesture, You are not in journalist or any journalist interview or neither a TV anchor. The tonality of your voice also matters, that what are your high pitches, what are your low pitches. Your voice modulations also, which words you are stressing on, which words you are using a flow or maybe higher pitch. A clarity of thought when you are giving answer, you should always give the answer in points. Always try to structure the answer first. Whenever a question is asked, listen first. Have 5 seconds halt. Structure the answer well. Decide what are your first point, second point, third point, fourth point, 5 point, and then give the answer. And lastly, reciprocity. It is nothing but if a question is asked to me, then I give the answer. Based on my answer, again a sub question comes. Then again I give the answer. Again a sub question comes. Again I give the answer. It is similar to a really good gameplay of tennis between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. We love it, right? A rally, tuck, 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 tuck. Or maybe chess. Two players are playing very quick. So this is how a beauty of your interview is. Question, answer, question, answer. To keep this rally or keep this reciprocity, it is very important that you give good lengthy answers, but at the same time these are pointed enough and these are having rationality, substance and structure. If you give short answers, this will kill your reciprocity and rally. Then it's flow of interview. Now remember, this is the flow and the main structure of interview. The structure of interview includes the first type of questions which are asked are completely based on your biodata. These questions may be, okay, the questions which are associated with your state, the questions which are associated with the organization your father worked, the question which were associated related to your college or your hobby or your profession, the managerial question if you were working somewhere, soft skills related questions if you are working somewhere. Okay, in this way these are the questions, whatever you have written in biodata, definitely that will come back to haunt you. Then are HR questions. The HR questions are more associated with your suitability to the organization. Generally 30 to 40% questions are HR which start the interview either before your biodata or after your biodata. Generally in HR questions are like, why are you interested to join this organization? Why did you prepare for RBI? Okay, what are the 3 best qualities in your personality that you should become an RBI Grade B officer? Give us 3 reasons why we should not select you. These are HR questions. Then are technical questions. We all know the subjects in technical questions, like for example in RBI, SEBI, NABARD, finance, RBI, economy, the current affairs. In NABARD, for example, agriculture. These are your technical questions which can be asked to you. A recent RBI circular can be asked to you. Any current affairs or a flagship scheme associated with the RBI and recently on RBI website could be asked to you. Central bank digital currency e-rupee. What is the scope in future could be asked in interview. A recent Lakpati Didi scheme could be asked in your interview. In this way, the technical questions are more about your subject knowledge. And that subject knowledge can be definitely asked to you based on the questions which you are answering. Correct? It could be associated with cooperatives, banks. It could be associated with your finance topics, primary market, secondary market, inflation, monetary policy committee. It could be associated with overall the banking system. It could be associated with your agriculture and rural development and various chapters associated with it. So in this way, these are all the questions which are asked. The technical questions, I hope that you understand. The HR questions are open-ended and more associated to understand that is this student really suitable for this organization or not. And biodata, whatever you have written in your biodata, even if it is a small word, definitely a question could be asked. Now, how to prepare for these interviews? See, these are all the sections and structure of your interview for your regulatory bodies. For biodata, make a notebook. Similarly, for HR questions, make a notebook. Then make for technical, for finance, make a notebook. For economy, make a notebook. For agriculture and rural development, make a notebook. Similarly, for SEBI, 6 subjects are there. Make a notebook for all these 6 subjects. In this way, you have to prepare notes for each of the sections, and based on the biodata, whatever information you have written, you have to find keywords from your biodata. Now from that keywords, you have to frame multiple questions which could be probably asked to you in your interview. Remember, covering the foundational subjects and current affairs before your interview is very important. Mental mapping is also very important. That suppose I have written chess as an hobby in my biodata, then definitely I have to prepare everything about chess. Who are the best players, who are the prodigies in India, how grandmaster score is calculated, everything. If cricket is my favorite hobby, then what is the length of the bat, what is the length of the stump, what is the length of the pitch, everything, what is the DRS system, etc. Self-introspection is very important. It tells you that what you have written in biodata. It also gives you answers to various questions and fill in the blanks which are in your biodata. Self-introspection is nothing but to understand yourself better. For clearing RBI exam, you need not to have a great scholarship and gold medal. No, you could be an ordinary candidate, but that ordinary and simple candidate is extraordinary when he comes to that interview hall. Whatever he has written, that is honest. And more important of all, that is rational enough that he can prove his point, that he is best out of all that crowd which is standing behind. And lastly, practice. You can practice in front of your friends, in front of your peers, in front of your seniors. You can practice every day in front of a mirror, so that just to improve your facial expressions, improve your body, etc. There are certain problems also which are associated with your interview. The first thing is devils of interviews, and this is the last part. First is arrogance. Whenever I will suggest that devils of interviews are nothing but these are problems, or these are main challenges of the interview. If you want your interview to go better, if you don't want any problems in your interview, don't take any of these devils with you in your interview hall. Arrogance is the first one. Arrogance is nothing but it's a feeling that you know everything. Now I know that ego we cannot separate from each other. That means ego is nothing but self. And everybody, we all have ego. We always brag about ourselves. And we cannot separate ourselves from us. We cannot separate I from us, right? खुद को कैसे आप समझाओगे कि forget yourself. So ego existentially is with us. So you don't need to kill your ego, but prevent this ego from talking in your interview hall. So for minimal time, prevent this ego, and therefore it will prevent the arrogance. Don't give any arrogant answer even because of a tongue slip. Ignorance. Sometimes if you don't know the answer, you can say that sorry or I apologize, but I cannot give the answer, or maybe I don't know about it. I would definitely get back and definitely try to read about this. But ignorance is not about saying no. Ignorance is about that taking the interview questions as well as whole interview lightly. Remember, the interview panel may become lighthearted, they may start laughing, they may become casual. But for you, this is a strictly professional. This is strictly a professional routine. You cannot be casual. You cannot be laughing in the interview. Take it very strictly and consider it one of the important professional aspects. Remember, ignorance is nothing but to showcase, or maybe the interview panel may not take you seriously, and that could be because of your ignorance. You have to be aware in interview. Remember, major of the candidates who select in interview are not superbly talented intellectually, but rather they are well aware about themselves and the environment than the rest of the people. That's it. This is the main theory of clearing the toughest interview in the world, that is Indian Army SSB. That in interview, if you want to clear any interview, you don't need to be smart, you need to be aware about yourself and about your environment. That's it. Next is anxiety. We all are anxious. Some people are anxious with animals, with human beings, being alone. Someone may judge me about our confidence. Everybody is anxious in their own way. How to break this anxiousness? Simple. If you are anxious to be in front of other people or strangers, then talk to strangers. If you are anxious in context of your language, or you cannot speak properly in English, then keep speaking and practice more in English. Until and unless that confidence comes and that anxiousness from your mind goes. If you are anxious, the way you look, then try to impress the interview panel with the skills you possess. Everybody, we all are having our own devils and own ghosts which are associated and which give us anxiety. Nobody is free from anxiety. But find what you are anxious with, what is your anxiety, and try to work on it. And only you can fight with the anxiety. Glossophobia. This is a phobia or fear of crowd, or talking to the crowd, or being in front of the crowd, or in front of people whom you don't know. For example, experts in interview panel. How to break this glossophobia? Simple. In a week or whenever you are starting your interview preparation, start talking with the random people who are unknown to you. And under confidence, remember, there are 3 C's which can help you clear interview. What are these 3 C's? First, clarity. Clarity associated with your awareness about yourself, self-introspection, about your external environment, what is going on, okay? And basic mindset, quality, and your attitude. Then it's confidence. Confidence that what you are made up of, what grain you are made up of, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. That's confidence, that's it. And then it's conviction, which comes after confidence only. Conviction is nothing but whatever comes in front of you, you will definitely ace in that. So these are the 3 things which can help to beat all of the devils of interview. So with this, we end this session. Thank you very much. And yes, our Diwali offer is going on. Therefore, please go on our Oliveboard regulatory bodies. Please go on the website, okay? And so here our Diwali So here if you go on Oliveboard website, so here as I told you, selection wali Diwali, this sale is going on. It's our Diwali Dhamaka sale, okay? 52% off is there. Even if you go in the regulatory bodies, you will see here also our Diwali Dhamaka is going on, okay? So 52% off is on all our courses. If you are an 2025 aspirant, definitely use it and enjoy. Happy Diwali. See you next time.